With the World Cup quickly approaching, a lot of Americans and maybe some Canadians too will have a lot of questions about the upcoming event. I would just tell you to get some tickets to the matches, but you might as well take out a mortgage at that point. So instead, sit back, relax, and watch the games from your favorite chair just like you are for this video. Starting with just some quick facts in general, this is the first tournament to have 3 host nations, the previous record being Japan and Korea, South Korea as you probably could have guessed, in 2002. This will also be the first time 48 nations will play in the tournament, with the previous number being 32. This will also be the most expensive World Cup, if that wasn't already implied with America being one of the hosts. The opening game will take place in Mexico City's iconic Estadio Azteca, which has played host to multiple World Cup finals, and also some regular season NFL games. Then, the final will take place in New Jersey, and MetLife Stadium. And Canada's hosting games too, I guess. The tournament will last about a month, from June 11th to July 19th. Also, here's a list of the host cities if you want to pause the video real quick to look. And no, I don't know how Kansas City got on here either. So now let's just quickly go over the basic rules. Both teams feature 11 players, just like American football and baseball, also including 1 goalkeeper, like in hockey. Each team consists of attackers, which include the striker in the middle of the attack, whose primary focus is putting the ball in the net, and then wings, who push the pace and create opportunities. The midfield is just what it sounds like, players in the middle of the field, responsible for controlling the middle of the field and setting up the offense. Then finally, the defense consists of center backs and the left and right backs, positioned in front of the already mentioned keeper in the net. Obviously, different teams have different formations, but that's just the basic rundown. Things to look out for are set pieces, where the attacking team will set up for a goal after a pause in play, especially the famous corner kick, which occurs when the ball is kicked behind the net by the defense. And also penalties, where a team receives a one-on-one with the keeper after a foul. Fouls can be called anywhere, but inside the box it creates a penalty. Most fouls are yellow cards, sort of like probation, and they can escalate to the rare red card, which means you're out of the game. Red cards are assessed for the most severe fouls, but 2 yellow cards also equal a red card. Now let's take a look at some of the most notable teams to watch this summer. These teams will compete in mini round-robin tournaments, where the top 2 teams are guaranteed to move on, while some third-place teams will also advance to the knockout stages. France enters the tournament with arguably the deepest and most balanced squad in world football, blending elite young talent with experienced winners who've already performed on the biggest stage. Led by Kylian Mbappe, they possess elite speed and attacking power, but their success will depend on staying healthy and turning individual brilliance into consistent team performances. The key question is whether their depth will translate into another title, or if inconsistency and injuries will hold them back, as they look to avenge their 2022 World Cup final loss to Argentina. The defending champions Argentina face a transitional moment after their recent triumph, as the core that delivered the title begins to age. With Lionel Messi likely in his final World Cup, the team must begin involving younger players while still maintaining their identity and team chemistry. Their success centers on whether they can balance experience with fresh energy, or if the natural decline with key veterans will make it difficult to repeat their success. Brazil once again bring one of the most talented rosters in the world, filled with creative attackers that define their style. However, recent tournaments have exposed issues with team chemistry and consistency, particularly in high-pressure moments. Their challenge is not a lack of talent, but rather finding the confidence and tactical discipline needed to turn potential into results on the biggest stage. Brazil, who has won the most World Cups of any country, is looking for their first since 2002, the longest drought in the history of the national team. But in order to make that happen, some of the world's biggest stars like Vinicius Jr. will need to step up on the world's biggest stage. The English arrive with a golden generation that many believe is capable of winning a major tournament, featuring stars like Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. Despite their strong squad and recent deep runs, they've consistently fallen short at critical moments. The biggest question around this team revolves around handling pressure and finally turning promise into a championship. England hasn't won a major international tournament since 1966, which was their last World Cup victory. The Germans are in the middle of somewhat of a rebuilding phase, after a series of disappointing international performances from one of the world's most successful national teams, including some early exits that are uncharacteristic for such a historically dominant nation. They are attempting to redefine their identity with a mix of youth and experience. Their success will depend on whether they can quickly establish an identity and confidence or continue to struggle with inconsistency. However, young stars like Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala, who's recovering from an injury but should be back in time for the tournament, show that Germany is certainly not without talent to make a World Cup run this year. Spain has completed a youth-driven evolution, making them one of the favorites going into the tournament, focusing on technically gifted players who fit their traditional possession-based system. With superstars like LEMMiNO and Nico Williams, the Spanish have plenty of talent to win their second World Cup. While their style remains distinct, their ability to repeat their Euro success centers on whether their young core can be mature enough to compete with the more established and physically dominant teams who have been on the world's biggest stage before. The United States enters with one of the most talented rosters in their history, combining players who compete at top European clubs with growing international experience. Led by players like Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, and Gio Reyna, the team faces heightened expectations, especially as a host nation. Their challenge is to translate potential into a deep tournament run rather than falling short of expectations. This will possibly be the American Golden Generation's best chance to prove themselves to the whole world. The Netherlands national team continues to be one of the most tactically disciplined and consistently competitive teams in international football, often reaching the later stages of tournaments. However, they've never been able to secure a World Cup title. Led by stars like Virgil van Dijk and Cody Gakpo, the Dutch will hope that their structured approach and steady performances can finally lead them to a championship breakthrough. The Portuguese are transitioning into a new era, gradually moving away from reliance on Cristiano Ronaldo and toward a more balanced, team-focused approach. With a new generation of talent emerging, they have the potential to be more dynamic and less predictable. This will likely be Ronaldo's last chance at the only trophy he hasn't won in his legendary career, but also probably his best chance. With players like Rafael Leao, Bruno Fernandes, and Bernardo Silva, Portugal has a golden opportunity to deliver their country's first World Cup. Now for the other hosts, the Canadians walk into the tournament with momentum after re-establishing themselves on the international stage in recent years. With a fast style of play and standout players like Alphonso Davies, Canada has the athletes and the talent to trouble stronger opponents. As a host nation, they will benefit from home support, but their success centers on whether they can translate recent success into consistent performances against the league competition. The Mexicans face significant pressure as a co-host nation with a long history of World Cup appearances and high expectations from their fans. Mexico has often reached the knockout stages but struggled to advance further. Their World Cup fate revolves around whether or not they can break past their traditional ceiling, using home advantage to push deeper into the tournament than in recent years. Now for some notable underdogs. Norway enters as a fascinating potential dark horse, largely because of their elite attacking talent, headlined by Erling Haaland. While Norway has not been a consistent presence in recent major tournaments, their squad has grown in quality and confidence, giving them the potential to surprise more established teams. What remains to be seen is whether they can build enough defensive stability to complement their attacking firepower, as relying too heavily on individual brilliance may not be enough in a tournament setting. Other than them, Morocco, Croatia, and Senegal will present other potential underdog stories. Morocco's already proven its ability to make a deep run, like they did in 2022, making it all the way to the Final Four. Croatia consistently demonstrates tactical discipline and resilience, despite the country's small size and aging core of talent. Finally, Senegal has historically performed well at the World Cup, and a recent, although controversial, AFCON tournament victory shows they still have the talent to compete with some of the world's best teams. Whether one of them can replicate or even surpass recent underdog success and challenge for the title remains to be seen. Out of the 12 groups in the World Cup this summer, the top 2 teams in each group will advance to the knockout stages, basically a playoff. Joining them will be 8 of the third-place teams. At this stage in the tournament, you'll need to know about penalty shootouts. Like we saw in the World Cup final in 2022, the 2 teams take turns taking penalties in a best-of-5 format. If they are still tied after 5 penalties, they go to sudden death, where they go until someone makes and someone misses. And of course, the last 2 teams remaining will meet in the World Cup final in New York City. I mean New Jersey. Hopefully you learned something from this video and feel ready for the matches this summer if you've never watched any before. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.